Good afternoon. So we are at Malham. Aimee and I have come out for a walk today. I'm testing out a new pack as well, the Proforce Northern Ireland Patrol style pack. It's not a proper Northern Ireland Patrol. It seems pretty decent. I just bought it as a cheap day pack really. But it does seem to be good quality, and it's got a 40 litre capacity. But it's quite compact for a 40 litre pack, so I brought that out today. I'll show you that a bit later. I forgot my walking boots, didn't I? I've been a numpty, so I'm in my bloody Crocs. So I drove in my Crocs. Like I said, I realised I forgot my bloody walking boots. I thought rather than waste the day and not get out for a walk, we're just not going to be able to do anything technical. So it's going to be a walk at lower ground that we're going to do. But I've put the gaiters on just to try and reduce some of the wind that's blowing up my leg, because it is cold. It's probably about 4 or 5 degrees at the moment here. So that's that anyway. So I'll let you have a little bit of a 360 of where we are. So we're parked over there. It's Malham town, just there at the end of that path, and so we're heading in that direction towards Janet's Foss, and then depending on what it's like when we get there, we're going to head towards Gordale Scar. So I'm going to probably get absolutely caked up like mad with mud, but the good thing about Crocs is they're quite easy to clean, so that's my theory anyway. So we're just going to crack on with it and just see where I end up. I've got wool socks on, and that's the other thing as well. I thought, I've got wool socks on, my feet get wet, they should still stay warm, and the Crocs I've got on, they're those with the fleece lining in them, the dual comfort ones. So let's just see how I get on. I'll bring you back and I'll let you know how I'm faring with them. I'll see you in a bit. Tree down. Completely blocking the path. I'm going to have to negotiate this in my Crocs now. Right, let's do the muddy path. Let's do it. It's a bit muddy. You can see. Gnarly tree. Gnarly. Oh, there's something out of a horror movie in it. Look at it. Yeah. Right, I'm going to show you the speed at this beck is running. It's normally running a lot slower. I can't remember the name of it, but it runs from Janet's Foss and all the way down the hill. Quite well, flowing quite well. I don't know if you can hear me, actually you might be hearing better now. It's flowing very well, very quickly, quite a lot wider than it normally is. And this side you can see even better. One of the things that I would say with this time of year, especially if you look at all these hills around us, they will soak up a lot of the water, but the water will run down through those hills. Bear in mind the hills will soak them up. Imagine them being like giant sponges. They'll soak up some of the water. That water makes its way down to the water table and eventually down into the stream, which will run the way down to the rivers and so on and so forth. So right now, obviously, a lot of that water has run through the water table and into the stream. Some of you probably know this already, but some of you might not. And the point I'm getting to is this: when you're in places like this, which is particularly if it was like raining heavy now, is just to be aware that where you've got some of these lower lying waterways, just hang on a minute, think I've got water on the lens. Just 1 second. A bit better. When you've got some of these lower lying waterways, you could end up with flash floods, and as does happen in some places. So you just have to be mindful of that when you're out walking these places. You don't want to get yourself stuck. I'm not worried about that today. The forecast is it's not going to rain heavily this afternoon. That's not to say that it's not raining somewhere else a few miles away, higher up on the hills, and then it works its way down. But I'm pretty confident that we're not going to get affected by anything like that today, but it's just something to have in mind. There is another low pressure system on its way. It won't get too boring on you. I do look at the deep dives with the weather because I like to know what's going on. One of the models is that tomorrow, through tonight into tomorrow, there's another quite a big area of low pressure coming from the Atlantic, which is going to bring a lot of heavy rain and strong winds with it again. It's not been named yet, so I don't think it's going to be as powerful as Storm Debbie was. By the way, if you're a Witcher fan, which I am, both Aimee and I are Witcher fans, they filmed a scene there at Gordale Scar, so I'll do a proper panorama when I get there so you can see where I mean, and if I can find the episode, try and find the episode for you, and I'll put it in a comment somewhere on here so you know where it is, or maybe when I get to Gordale Scar and you do the panorama of Gordale Scar, maybe just drop it in there so you know which episode to look for. Where we are here, it's probably about 20 centimetres of that difference in height. We've got a little bit of embankment there that's stopping that from around here, but you can see without much water on the ground here. And this doesn't know where water is, all this water up here at all. This tells you just how swollen this must have been a couple of days ago. It's probably what brought that tree down a little bit further behind us, because you can see that it's all sodden on the ground. Right, so I've forgotten my tripod. I'm in a bit of a rush because there's people coming. They're going to end up at back. There's 6 of them. So I'm going to set up my camera on top of my bag as a bit of a makeshift type solution. So I want to get some shots of that bit of waterfall there, with it blurred out, but the rest of the background all nice and sharp. So I'm going to give it a go and see what comes out like. So I've asked Aimee to film me just so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so I've forgotten my tripod. I'm in a bit of a rush because there's people coming. They're going to end up at back. There's 6 of them. So I'm going to set up my camera on top of my bag as a bit of a makeshift type solution. So I want to get some shots of that bit of waterfall there, with it blurred out, but the rest of the background all nice and sharp. So I'm going to give it a go and see what comes out like. So I've asked Aimee to film me just so you can see what I'm doing. what I've done is I've set up the camera that we're shooting at 1 second exposure at f/16 to try and sort of bring the light down on the aperture, keep a nice long depth of field as well, and that means that the foreground and the background is in focus, as is everything throughout the scene. But I'm also going to focus about midway into the shot as well, and then I'm going to set the timer on my camera for 5 seconds so that when I press the shutter and I move away from it, nothing should move. So we'll give it a go now. Alright, so that's what we're looking at. Just going to set that shutter speed now. Sorry, oh, it's 2 or 10 seconds. Oh, 5, there we go. You can see that. Right. Give it a go, so I'm focusing on that rock in the foreground. So I'm going to just press now, step back, and take that shot. So it has given me that sort of silky look on the exposure on the water. It's still fairly sharp in the background, but it's quite overexposed, but not so much so that I can't pull it back with Sony. The Sony sensors, even on this APS-C, censored camera, the Sony sensors have got really good dynamic range, so you can push and pull quite a lot with them compared to a lot of other branded cameras, although a lot of the new cameras now have got Sony sensors in them anyway. But I'm a firm believer that Sony keep their own sensors for their own cameras the most highly tuned. I don't know if that's right or not, but anyway, that's where we are. So stop it there and I'll bring you back. We're almost at Janet's Foss, which is a waterfall near Malham. You'll be able to hear it, I'm sure. You might even be able to hear me hardly. Quite a few people here at the moment, so I'm just going to wait for them to clear a little bit and then reveal to you what I can see. Also, these steps, especially in my Crocs, a little bit slippy on the lead up to it. If you can hear me, but she's in full flow as I said that she would be. We're very fresh and cold in there today. We'll make our way to Gordale Scar and I'll bring you back shortly. Right, I'm going to show you in a minute. We've come out from this falls area now, but I'm going to show you how the landscape has changed quite dramatically. Reveal that to you in a moment. There doesn't feel to be a lot of wind at the moment where we are. However, what I can see is that there's a drizzle shifting across at literally about 150 metres ahead of where we are right now, and it's shifting at a reasonable rate of knots. So I'm assuming we're going to head into the wind very shortly. So, what I've noticed here, which I've never noticed before, is this sign. So we're literally half a mile, as you just see, from Gordale Scar. Look at this sign here. It's a private campsite. For permission to camp, apply at house, visitors please note, public right of way on a footpath only. No other use of field or premises permitted, please keep your dog in lead. So, I presume it's that house there. So, what I've noticed here, which I've never noticed before, is this sign. So we're literally half a mile, as you just see, from Gordale Scar. Look at this sign here. Private campsite. For permission to camp, apply at house, visitors please note, public right of way on a footpath only. No other use of field or premises permitted, please keep your dog in lead. So, I presume it's that house there. I might have to inquire there at some point with a view to coming and doing a bit of a... I suppose it won't strictly be a wild camp, would it? But it's near as damn it, isn't it? And to be somewhere like this, which is, as you'll see shortly, pretty spectacular on a wild camp. It'd be pretty awesome. You're meant to ask for permission to camp anywhere on land in the UK anyway, apart from Scotland, or most places in Scotland, because it's on certain parts of Dartmoor as well now, because wild camping is essentially civil trespass if you've not asked for permission from the landowners. So I would imagine there'll be a charge of some sort, won't there? But it'd be interesting to see how much it is and maybe give that a go sometime. It's not that far a hike from the car. We've probably walked about 2 and a bit miles. So even with a heavy pack on, it's not that heavy what I've got on today. I've probably got about 10 kilos in it. What was I saying? Yeah, so normally when I wild camp I probably end up carrying up to about 15 kilos if I carry 2 litres of water in that. Obviously here there's that much water all year round, as well as there's always plenty of water here all year round. Then I just bring the grail, which in fact I brought with me today, so I'll be sourcing our water for a brew today from the water that's running out of Gordale Scar, mountain water, fresh. I won't be drinking it straight from it, like I said, I'll be filtering it through the grail and then we'll be making a brew out of it, but I'll be having a bit of it fresh, cold and fresh as well, before I boil some. Should be nice and tasty. Should be nice and tasty. Shouldn't be, well, I say tasty, obviously water doesn't taste of anything, particularly if it's got nothing in it. No chlorine, no other additives or anything, it shouldn't taste of anything. And the only thing that this water might have in it is maybe some small, tiny microscopic particles of maybe calcium carbonate, I'm thinking, just simply because all this bit that I'm going to show you in a moment is limestone, which of course is calcium carbonate or chalk. Chalk is a form of calcium carbonate, but limestone is the name of this rock here. Breeze is getting up, coming from my right hand side, just as around this corner. Hopefully we'll get a bit more shelter from it, although it is coming down that hill quite fast, so it could also be that it's been funneled by the gorge. Anyway, as beautiful as this is, you've not seen it all yet. This is Gordale Scar. So when you're walking down that pathway on the main road after Janet's Foss, just remember that whilst the landscape does reveal itself as you walk along and you see what is already a beautiful scene anyway on your way through, that the best is yet to be reached when you reach the end of that pathway, which is here. Find out the exact scene for you and I'll post it somewhere on the screen, probably up there, on the top there somewhere. And, check out the Witcher if you've not watched it already. First couple of series especially especially. First couple of seasons were great. The third one, I still enjoyed it, but not as much. I won't get into the reasons, the whys and wherefores, but yeah, definitely the first two seasons are definitely worth watching. People that walk up the falls when they're not as heavily flowing as that, and they make that climb up that side and up through the gorge and eventually up onto the tops. It's definitely not something that I'm going to be doing today. It's not safe to be doing that today. So, it's easing off a bit now as the rain, but it was getting a bit windy and wet, so it's quite cold as well. So I've donned the poncho, which is great to be fair. It's like being in your own little shelter. Wearing one of these things, it doubles as a you see, it's got the peg out holes and stuff there going along it kind of thing. It doubles as a little mini tarp as well, enough for one person. So it buttons together and you can unbutton it both sides and turn it into a tarp. But today it's been used for a poncho. I'll let you have a look at this pack while I've got it out. This is it. It's the Northern Ireland style pack. I must stress it's not a proper British Army Northern Ireland tow package, but it's based on that model. I've been after one of the proper packs for a while, but I'm wanting a lot of them are in DPM and I don't want one in DPM. They did one in a drab olive colour and that's the colour that I want really, but so I set off for this one for the time being. It seems to be decent quality and everything inside, even though it's wet outside, everything stayed dry inside, so far so good. But it's not absolutely chucking it down, it's more of a drizzle driven sideways by the wind. But yeah, so far so good, and it's quite comfy as well. It's quite a comfy pack to wear. Rain's finally eased off and the wind's dropped off a little bit as well. The sun's even tried to get out a couple of times but it's not managed to. You can see that there. That guy is on a missing poster a bit further down. Missing from Liversedge, which isn't far from where we live, it's only a few miles from where we live. So he's missing from our area, so goodness knows what's happened to him. Let's just hope that he's okay, but he's meant to have come up here, potentially on his own, so maybe he's come wild camping and had a fall somewhere and still waiting to be found. Let's hope not. So, but yeah, sad really, very sad. And these things do happen, especially can happen out in these places as much as you think. Malham's not that much out in well, it's not a wilderness area, it's a rural area, but there are some quite remote parts of this locality. We're up in the Yorkshire Dales, of course, and it's classed as a mountainous region. I'd call it hilly, but it's classed as a mountainous sort of area, so people do go missing. You can fall down crevices and all kinds of stuff. Not careful, you just got to treat this place with respect, even though people think, you know, I'm not in the Swiss Alps or I'm not in the Himalayas, so it's not a place that I need to be worried about something happening to me. As long as you've got a reasonable level of competence, it can still happen, especially if you take your eye off the ball or you get hit with bad weather and you're not equipped for it. You get too cold, so you start to make some odd decisions. Your hands get freezing cold, so you don't have any dexterity anymore, so you can't perhaps do some of the tasks that you normally would if your hands were warmer. It's all sorts of things that can go wrong, but a lot of the prevention of that, or reduce the likelihood of that is by being prepared really and having the right kit. And that doesn't necessarily mean having the most expensive, you know, most snazziest kit you can possibly get your hands on. It's about getting the right kit to do the right job. That's really important. I'll bring you back in a bit. Right, I'm down that little tricky bit. So, as I was saying, yeah, so the things that I've got with me today are items that I may have to use for survival. Some of them are comfort, but can extend into being used for survival. So my clothing's one of them. Obviously I've got the poncho on. The poncho is so large, it's a military poncho by, I think it's Miltech. Again, not expensive, but a decent brand, German made. It buttons together into a poncho, or it unbuttons and becomes a little mini tarp if you need it. So I'm just at some rocks again. They're not as tricky as the last ones, but they're still a little bit slippy. There we go. Yeah, so I've got a water purifier. So I've got the Grail with me, which I've used today. Obviously there's plenty of water about up in Yorkshire Dales. So I've got a way of purifying water. I've also got an alcohol stove in my bag, so I could boil water if I needed to. I could take heat from that. The amount of fuel I've got is probably enough to burn for about a couple of hours if needs be, if I needed to. Probably 200 minutes, something like that. Got about 220 mils of fuel and about 20 to 25 mils burns for about 20 minutes, and that's how I've calculated that. That's with using the windshield as well, which without the windshield the fuel will burn off in no time at all. So I've got that item with me, nice and light as well. I've also got two cutting tools with me. I've got a small folding pocket knife, which I keep banging on about. It's the one that the guys from work bought me for my 50th this year, by a company called Witness, Sheffield Steel company, and it's a Barlow style knife, really old design. It's got a clip point on it. It's just simple, straightforward, it's just really useful. Now I've got a Swiss Army knife, which has got a saw, even though I brought a Bacco Laplander as well. I would normally carry a smaller one than that, one of these little pocket boy things, silky pocket boy thing, but I've lost it in the house somewhere, so I couldn't find it for today. That's even smaller, more compact, but because it weighs hardly anything, I've chucked it in my pack, you just never know. The pack I've brought today is also my bushcraft pack, so there's some stuff I just like to leave in it anyway. Got some cordage. It's a 15 metre length of paracord, which is actually, it's my quick deploy ridge line that I use for the tarp. That's in my bag as well, it hardly weighs anything. There's some quite strong tie wraps in there with that cordage kit. And I've actually brought a 3 metre by 3 metre tarp as well, that's in my bag, because it only weighs like 700 grams, so I've just chucked it in the bottom of my pack, because I thought that we ended up in a situation where it was really windy. I was going to put that up just to keep the wind off us, but in actual fact when we got to Gordale Scar, the ground was too hard to put any pegs in, so I'd have been struggling to put it up anyway. But it's there. Push come to shove, could have wrapped it around the both of us. It was big enough as a shelter for both of us if it got really bad. Say one of us got injured or something on the walk around and had to get some cover while help was found, then it would be ideal for something like that. So a little bit like a space blanket, but obviously it offers no insulation, but it'd keep you dry and warm. What else have I got? I've got a little compass as well actually. I've got a little marbles compass, a little brass compass. It was bought as a gift from me by Aimee. a while ago. That's just in my tinder tin, so I've got a tinder tin in my bag. Again, that's because it's my bushcraft bag, so it's chucked in there with some little bits to get a fire going, so that means there's a fire steel in there as well. I've got a lighter, I've got one of these pressurised triple flame, a bit like a miniature blowtorch type thing. Lighter in my bag as well, that's in with my stove kit. So yeah, sort of some essential survival items. Container to carry water in. I've got 2 of those because I've got the Grail, and then I've got the Stanley stainless steel cup and stove set, so that enabled me to carry water as well, boil water in it, sort of thing. We brought some sandwiches, some sustenance, but we've not had to eat those. We brought a flask of tea, so we've had a hot drink, we've had a little bit of a sugary snack, and that's it. But you think it sounds like a lot, it's not, it's because I've taken ages to explain it, but it's not a lot of kit really, it doesn't weigh a lot. But I'm prepared for the day, for both Aimee and I, in the event that either we decide we want to stay out longer. It's getting dark now, so we're heading back, but in case we decide we want to stay out longer, or like I say, one of us got hurt and couldn't move, was immobilised, the other person had to then go and find help, at least you could wrap that person up in a makeshift shelter, and they've got the things with them to help their chances of getting through that situation and not making it any worse than what it already is. That's pretty much it really. Fits with what the forecast was yesterday, so I think we are going to get a bit smashed by whatever's coming in. Look over there, see the mist rolling in over the hills, hear the wind's getting up as well, so we're only about a quarter of a mile from the car, so we'll be back at the car in 5 minutes, but yeah, it's just good timing really, to get back to the car and have a steady ride home. So this is just after Storm Debbie, so I don't know what this one's going to be that's coming through. I don't think they named this one. Hi there, so you probably noticed that last clip in the video, it just seemed to kind of end abruptly and then went into the photographs, and that was due to some kind of technical error where I did film an actual goodbye clip, if you like, but for some reason it's not registered it. I've dropped it somehow. I probably didn't press record properly, or something's gone wrong somewhere along the line. So I dropped those photographs in from the day on the end, and hopefully you enjoyed it. What I'd say is thank you for tuning in. As usual, if you've got any comments, observations, advice, etc., then just pop in the comments bar below. Any questions as well. I'll always say I'm not an expert, but I've got a little bit of experience in the outdoors, and if I can answer any of your questions, then I certainly will. But thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, recommend to your pals with like-minded interests, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ta-ra for now.